And this is Trekland HQ, and we are live. Stay or go. But Star Trek is going to evolve. Today on episode 220 of Yes, Trekland Tuesdays Live with me, Dr. Trek Larry Nemechek, coming at you here from the heart of Trekland via Trekland Treks for some sanity, clarity, and the big picture in things Star Trek. So happy Tuesday. Glad to see everybody back with us. And if you are new to Trekland Tuesdays Live, welcome. I'd like to hear where you're coming from. Also, happy National Solidarity Day. Yes, National Solidarity Day in solidarity with folks who are on strike right now. Especially, this is a movement that popped up today. A lot of folks have already been on the line here in Los Angeles and other places where there are picketing SAG-AFTRA actors, where there are picketing Writers Guild East and West members in cities beyond just New York and Los Angeles. And all the supporting entertainment related unions like the Teamsters and IATSE, but also, and directors still, even though directors settled in solidarity, but also it's a day for fans and other unions or both to be out working. And we're not getting into that today, except I wanted to mention it, note it. It's not too late if you want to get on the ceremonial day, but it's also not too late to check out things you can do. The Entertainment Community Fund is one thing, things you can do for a lot of the people who aren't even in the striking unions but are hurt by the slowdowns here in Hollywood. We passed day 100 a couple of weeks ago. We're up to day 112, 113, 114. Hopefully, we'll be back and talking about that in a week or two from the front lines. But today, I want to talk about, well, I don't know. Does this seem like a weird in-between time? Does it seem like that? Now, look, the summer's over. It's kind of that end of time. A lot of people are already back in school. They've got kids back in school. They're back in school if they're teaching or if they're in college. But it's not quite Labor Day. We're in this in-between time when we're in a hiatus, oddly enough. We're going to get used to this more often again. Got a little spoiled there for a couple of years. But as Trek fans, we're waiting here for the arrival of Lower Decks season 4 on officially the day before Star Trek Day. We'll see what happens with promotions. And it seems a little quiet with a new series season coming down the line too. But this is what I mean. Here in LA, we just had Hurricane Hillary with one L go through, which was not near, it's plenty severe in lots of places. But for the bulk of folks in SoCal, it wasn't as severe. The winds weren't as severe as we thought for as long as happened. There's still folks that are out without power, scattered. The deserts are still recovering, who aren't used to that much rain in a year, much less in 24 hours. But otherwise, it still feels a little iffy. We got plenty of humidity. I've never seen the humidity this high for this long in California. It wasn't part of my moving contract. But no, it's an in-between time. So maybe you're wondering what to do. Maybe you're thinking what you might do the rest of the year. Let me just throw out there one idea. Is a Trekland Trek with me, your own customized away team here in LA. Hey, in case you hadn't been watching, film location sites for Star Trek are about to come into the spotlight. Yeah. Mark and Scott and that bunch has a documentary coming, which is going to be awesome. Got to get some actors to go, which is something we do with the big tour with Geek Nation Tours. Of course, it'll be cool to eventually see this big commercial for doing location touring, but there's nothing like doing it yourself. So if you want to find out what the thrill is all about as a Trek fan, get in touch with me. We can do this any time of year, any day you're out here, just about. Let me know. That's something else you might be thinking about. But in this kind of in-between time, I found myself in a Twitter conference, a very civil one, very cool one. And I don't know. Maybe it's a good time to take a breath in this in-between time and, look at the big picture. And I don't know. You tell me if this is like a Trek fan or maybe it's you. But no, I was in this Twitter conversation. I kind of stumbled in. And basically, yes, it's been, well, it was only last Thursday. That's amazing. But it's only been a week, and we are like a week or two, and people are still talking about the finale. People are still talking about hegemony with Strange New Worlds. People are still talking about the Gorn. And now, look, there's still concerns about Gorn canon from Strange New Worlds and going back to what we know already, which 95% is the original series and Arena. Now, look, I get it. And some of you are going to eye roll about this because you're not canonistas, and that's perfectly fine. But I'm talking about the other half of fandom who are, maybe not to the most anal degree, but they are. Because look, I'm betting that if Paramount Plus would share it, I'm going to bet that the two most original series watched episodes in the past couple of years have been Amok Time and Arena. And you know why? Amok Time to go back and check out the T'Pring details. I mean, I did. My first instinct, I had to stop the show, go back and watch the T'Pring reveal. And you know what? There's things you can do when you're watching a show like that. You can either, and you react. You can listen to your gut, especially if you've been at this for 20 or 30 or 40 years. Or you can go to the tape. And I would hope that the scientist, I would hope the rational Spock and Data in all of us would say, go back to the data, go back to the original data and look at it again, which is what I did. And by the way, we've talked about this before, but you know what? Chapel says nothing. The only thing we see on camera of her interacting with T'Pring is seeing her on the view screen and gasping. That's all there is. Now, we had 40, 50 years to interpolate how we interpreted that. And maybe that was the intended interpretation at the time. Maybe it went unspoken. Maybe it was a mass delusional. Your interpretation at home may vary. That's probably what most of what happens in Trek happens. Very rarely do we get a categorical statement. And even then, sometimes it's problematical. You know, like the Romulans only having old-fashioned impulse drive. How did that happen? How did they leave Vulcan? That was a long sojourn. That was a long time wandering in the wilderness, getting from star to star to star on impulse. But they had 1,000 years to do it. When did the Romulan Empire rise to the effect that they were ready to take us on in a war? Anyway, I digress. That's what I mean, though. And that's a ballyhoo. That's something we all deal with now, and people try to massage that one around. But this is not that. This is modern day, right? Oh, and by the way, on Strange New Worlds, Uhura is never in the same room as T'Pring. Have you noticed that? Okay, now that's that's a micro focus. The Gorn stuff started with their life cycle, right? Where did these spastic, hyper competitive, yearlings eat each other for competition, or hatchlings do, and then the yearlings are still bopping off the walls. We finally saw an adult in hegemony, and it kind of fit the path that I was hoping for, the way I made sense with it. And we've talked about this, and I've talked about this on Second Opinion. I urge you to go watch the Second Opinions, in this case for Memento Mori and All Those Who Wander. And yes, and now hegemony. I mean, the thing with the lifestyle, you can go back to the point of Kirk is fighting a captain. The captain must be an elder. Maybe that arc of metabolism slowdown accelerates throughout their life. And by the time they're an honored elder, it's okay if they move that slowly. And we see him plucked out of his environment and plot. We don't know. He may have a support staff of 3 or 4 who are helping him not move so slowly in a world where they too employ ships that travel faster than light and use phasers and disruptors and things that go quick, boom, faster than that old captain would seem to be able to keep up with. And yeah, of course, it was because of the nature of the rubber suit that was buildable in 1966. And we all lovingly love that. But we do have a cannon face. And if you're not into all this and Star Trek and wonder why take the time, maybe you want to go see another franchise that reboots itself every so often. Just saying, just saying. But no, most of you know exactly what I'm talking about. So even the mention, how did Kirk not know about Gorn were a thing? And now we're seeing Paul Wesley's Kirk. He's there. Kirk knows what a Gorn is. It's to happen 7. How do we reconcile this? I reconcile it. Let's take those two threads. Listen to the tape. Go back to the tape. Kirk says, I am here standing, he's log. I am here standing facing a creature the Metron called a Gorn. The Metron called a Gorn. That could have been first contact. You know, the phrase first contact didn't even exist until Next Generation. That could have been first contact, which is what we implicitly took it as for 50 years. Or, in hindsight, that could be Kirk can't believe that's, yeah, it's a reptiloid, but it doesn't look like the Gorns he's seen. Maybe he's never seen anything short of the adults that Spock and Chapel saw the reports, saw the tapes. We don't know. Maybe Strange New World goes on for 3 or 4 or 5, 6 years, and somewhere along the way, the Gorn become reclusive. Maybe not, but maybe that's what happened. Maybe it's a shock that they don't even consider that's a Gorn. I'm just saying. But he does phrase his dialogue that way. A creature the Metrons called a Gorn, or called a Gorn is the gist of it. Okay, we got there. Now we're back and looking at hegemony. I'm in this thread, and a very astute fan points out to me, that doesn't cover it, Larry. No, when the Metrons first appear and address the whole bridge crew, they mention the word Gorn, and Spock and Uhura and now even Scotty are all on the bridge together. And I thought, damn. I looked at the transcript, damn. But what did I finally do? I went to the tape and watched it. And yes, indeedy doodle, that Metron voice does indeed say, you and the Gorn captain. And we have reaction shots back and forth with Kirk and Spock and all of that. And then it was as if I saw the scene in new eyes. You know that moment. You know that. Now, in the 1966 Twilight Zone affected writing, this was Gene Coon's first script. And by the way, you know the story that he accidentally ripped off Frederick Brown's story, Arena. Changed it. He Star Trekified it, wrote it very quickly, and then realized that he'd ripped off that story. They contacted Frederick Brown and offered to buy his story. They didn't tell him they'd already shot and filmed a script of his, a script from his story, so that if it aired, he could claim damages and collect, thousands of dollars. But they did say, can we buy your story? Okay, here's the standard fee. Much cheaper to throw $200 or $300 or $500 at him in the style of the day and be able to say, we've got science fiction writer, in the credits. No. But that's what happened. Was that the intent then? No. What the intent when the Metrons first addressed the bridge crew is you want to keep the reveal of their actual visage secret. You want to keep that Greco-Roman, almost genderless boy thing, at least in human form, that's going to be 1,500 years. You want that shock value, that little Twilight Zone twist at the end. You want that for the end. So no, you're not going to put the Metron's face on the bridge view screen. So what happens? The Metrons, the producers, they wish the Metron, the producers just use an effect. They just have a shiny, spinny, lighty effect with an echo reverb to it. And when I'm a kid watching this show, and I've watched enough Star Trek, I'm watching that. I'm not even thinking, oh, they're saving the reveal for later. What I thought was, oh, well, here's Star Trek's poor cheap effects. I don't care. We don't see the ship in half the time they approach a ship anyway. So it's fine. These guys are enigmatic and mysterious. But not only, they don't even have a wavery, they're not even going all, I don't know, Tholian on us or Thasian. They're just showing this line of, almost looks like the cathexis wheel from Voyager. They're just showing this random batch of glittery, shiny, too close on reflection mosaic object. It's a totally inorganic, non-humanoid image with this woo 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 below the voice track, and we hear the Metron talking to us. And the oh my god moment I had 2 days ago when I went back to check the tape. No, Spock does not look over at Kirk and say, "Oh my god, Jim, it's the Gorn again." Or Uhura doesn't jump up and say, "Oh no, not the Gorn again." Or Scotty doesn't go, "Oh, the Gorn, they're tough beasties. Be careful, Captain." I mean, nobody talks about the context. In fact, if you watch, everybody is fixated on the view screen. Now, at the time they shot it, did they know there'd be a Gorn face or not? Did they know there'd be an effect? I should check the script. And even then, it could be the final edition and not what the shooting script said. But what struck me for our 2023 purpose is that everybody just stares at the screen. Maybe Spock gets a little bit of a sideways glance at Kirk, but I don't think so. It's certainly not open to conversation. Nobody says a word. The only person who says a word is our dear Captain Kirk. No one else utters a sound. They're transfixed. So yes, my fan friend in the Twitter feed, 2 minutes go by where Spock or anyone, Uhura or Scotty, could have said something about the Gorn to Kirk, but they didn't. Now let's think in the moment. Why would they not? Why would they not say anything? Much less about Gorn. Why would they not be in shock at having been 1 second chasing this mysterious intruder who's obviously employing some kind of a jamming, right, beam? Just they're chasing it at warp 8 into completely unexplored space. They start out at 22 parsecs beyond, which is, I looked this up, what was it, 6 or 7 sectors? However many, 72 light years. They're beyond the edge of the last charts. And no one says a word. Because the Metron is addressing them with its communication beam with a mesmerizer. It's got them all held in stasis. They're all basically in a transmuted, at least mental. They're in a little bit of a force field. They're all being held mute. And when does this end? It ends with Kirk zapping out. No one has a chance to talk about the Gorn on camera that we see. Everybody is transfixed, not so much with the Gorn at the moment, but they're transfixed with this Metron being able to do everything that it's doing, this third party coming in. I mean, hold on to your, it won't be quite as organic and humanoid as the Amenians later on. That situation, the Vendikar people, and we're playing third party, or the Organians on Errand of Mercy. It's a meme. Yeah, it's a trope from original series. But in this instance, no one can talk about the Gorn. And we don't see what they say later. Later on, it's all about the battle with the Gorn. And if Kirk is transfixed that that's a Gorn, they are too. So people's, their scanners they're getting a visual feed. But this is details, gang. This is details. Look what happened. I thought I had fixed this. Someone else pointed out a very correct flaw, a very correct, stumbling block here to canon. I went back to the tape, saw the issue, and then saw a 55-year-old episode in new eyes. Same thing I did talking about Sarek and Spock with the addition of Michael and Sarek's manipulation of the Vulcan Science Academy. And it gave me a whole new, the biggest thing out of Discovery for me was the Sarek family. And realizing what a little manipulator this Sarek is, and then realizing what little manipulators the entire Vulcan civilization are. Brought him down off that pedestal just a little bit. And here we are once again. I just had this revelation. Oh my God. I thought it was for low budget. I thought it was for cheapies. But that was the Metrons intentionally delivering a mesmerizer to make their prey more docile. And no, they weren't, marked for death yet. They're doing the same thing to the Gorn ship. But this is about the details. What I want to get at is what just happened to me, seeing with new eyes, because I know a lot of people are having issues. Look, we've always had issues. We all know that every new Star Trek, especially the ones after a break, there was resistance, right? People would say, I don't know. They'd say, oh, you know what? It started long ago, kids. It started long ago in the rerun era. It started with the fans who used to say they bastardized Spock. He'd never talk about sex like that with strangers. I don't accept the third season. Or it's an animated show. It's not real. Or, oh my God, what else? They killed Spock. I won't watch. They're not Kirk and Spock. No, they don't go anywhere. It's too dark. It's too gritty. Oh, great. They're lost in space. Oh, it's they keep the story going from show to show. And when I miss a couple episodes, I'm totally lost. I give up. I mean, it looks more advanced than Kirk's Enterprise. Hey, that was so nice they used it twice. All of that has been, and we look back at all of those objections. And if you're a newer fan, you can't believe that was ever once said about, well, name your point. My point is that those things, the ebb and flow of time takes care of that. The ebb and flow of just more Star Trek. We can't help it. We're human beings. We love what we love. We have passion. We have fear that something's going to change that we love. And if it goes on long enough, it turns to anger, which used to happen in our little circles of friends. And now we have social media to amplify it to the whole world. And now we have people that take that and, totally apart from fandom, use it for social divisiveness. Hello, bots and trolls. Or they get off on it or whatever. So it's nothing new. But then we've also had the legions of fans that, when they see that kind of thing, instantly want to smooth it, want to gap fill if it's something you need. But gap filling is when you need piece of information that was never referred to. And you can come up with, canon in a vacuum until it's on screen. No, I'm talking about texture, not trivia. That's wrong. That's wrong. Well, maybe it's not wrong. Maybe it's the exception that proves the rule. Maybe we have to go back and, we have to massage it and finesse it. And that's something I've talked about forever. I brought it here to the hashtag stack in the era here now of streaming and podcasting. And I talk about that all the time. But it all gets back to this same point. That's in the moment. That's dealing with the details, I mean, I've had my share of this. My biggest one was in the 80s. They're beloved now. I know they're beloved now, but I hated the Monster Maroons. Not so much the cut of the uniform, but I hated all the gold and brass bling. That over militarized Reagan 80s stuff that Harv Bennett brought in. And I love Harv. But that's what Nick Meyer, he wanted the naval stuff. And I was sitting there watching this. Gene wouldn't, an admiral on the bridge? Give me a break. They never did that in the original series. Oh my God, this is so military. What has happened to Gene's a military as a British Navy late 18th, 19th century scientific peacekeeping force? Okay, well, the British were pretty big damn colonizers. I know. At that time and for a long time after, but they weren't overtly out looking for war, unless of course they were easily conquered natives. But my point is, the whole Captain Cook, the whole Captain, right, that overt militarism that Gene knocked down. We don't have saluting in Starfleet. Well, what the hell is Admiral on the bridge? That was the biggest thing that I did not like about but then, you know what? A couple movies later, I'm over it. I'm over it. The heart of Star Trek is still there. And if nothing else, as the years went by and we saw so many more changes come to Star Trek, because different people are running the franchise, and different people hire different people to write it, to design it, and all of that. There are pendulum swings. The amazing thing is that there are through lines in concept and in design that have kept this from being just another MCU, DC. Star Wars doesn't do a bad job. Of course, Doctor Who, it's baked in the cake, it's the DNA. Aren't they lucky? But I know somehow that goes along not just with the Gallifreyans and Doctor Who himself, but or herself itself, but the TARDIS itself. But I'll let the Who folks talk about that. No, the amazing thing is, even with the hiccups and the kerfuffles and the things that drive us crazy and 25% and all of that, that we've been amazingly on this through line, and we don't just willy-nilly recast and reboot in the same time frame. That's why we're aboard her. That's why texture, not trivia, makes sense. The oopsies become the texture that goes the other way. It becomes the knot hole in the smooth pine. So this conversation I just had, though, on one hand, yes, it was about more details. And I raised this up. But I thought it was interesting. And, like kiddos, I'm not like many fans. I've long ago resigned myself that I will see things going on in Trek, much less in fandom, way differently than most people do. But this whole conversation about going back to the tape again on Arena and looking at things in new eyes made me realize that the fans I talked to who were disappointed and had very cogent things to say, to the effect of, okay, Larry, that works, but why? Why do that? Why shoot yourself in the foot? Why commit an unforced error? Okay, maybe we can go back and smooth it over. Maybe we can, we have heart attacks and heartburn. Maybe it takes 28 years before someone comes up with the Klingon augment virus. And they were people that had the keys to the kingdom, by the way, finally. You can say, oh, that's just anal fans being overly, but it's Star Trek. That's the point. If it was something else, we wouldn't care. And I say we, meaning, well, I used to think there were 8 or 10 of us in the whole world. Now, thank you, Internet, I know there's more than 8 or 10 of us. So half a fandom, maybe? Half a fandom does care, or at least wonder. No, what is that bottom line? I don't know. It got me thinking. Those are very good questions. Why do that? Why go to all that? Why have people in charge? Why have designers? Why have showrunners that do that? Now, maybe it's out of innocence. Maybe it's out of ignorance. Maybe it's out of ego. Maybe it's just wanting to bring something fresh. And this is my bottom line thesis here. You don't have to agree with anything I said. You don't have to accept that the Gorn captain is an elder, and that's why he moves slow. You don't have to accept that was a mesmerizing unit, and that's why Spock and Uhura didn't talk to Kirk about the Gorn that they knew from 7 years already. They weren't secrets. It wasn't a first contact with the Gorn. Or maybe you can go with some of these stretches, and maybe you say, why go to all that trouble? Why do I expend this much brain energy? And it's a good question. Is it fun for you? Is that part of your Star Trek fandom? Or is that just a pain in the neck and it gives you a headache, like time travel? And I get that too. Some people love diagramming. I do it up to a point, but after a point, I have to take my time travel theory. We won't even go there. I'm wrestling with that as it is on another page. And the revisions to the time stream and talk about canon. That's my bugaboo that I'm struggling with now. But here and now, we got this. But whether it's time travel and time streams and canon chronology, or whether it's things like the Gorn, what is it about you and Star Trek? That's what I'm saying here. Now, Would it have killed the world if no one if the Gorn hadn't even been used as the recurring bad guys of Strange New World, at least throughout the gate? Would it have been nothing if somehow we had slower moving Gorn, or we never saw them except on a view screen, and we didn't have this hand-to-hand frenetic, this aliens like, this horror tangent, this horror bite that Davy Perez and some of the other writers are biting into? No, it could, this show could have, like any show, could have gone off. The butterfly effect could have gone off in a million ways, but this is where we are. This is what we do. Have we gone 50 years wishing we knew more about the Gorn? And I know some of us saying, yeah, but not like this. Well, here's the other reality. Just as we've said ever since I had to put up with the fact that there was a hot Klingon war before Organia. That was my headcanon I carried for 50 years. I even thought everything that McCoy said, the 2 or 3 lines quoted, backed that up, as well as what the drama over Organia was really about. But no, there was a hot war for a year and a half, 10 years before Organia. And I'm not talking about any fan series prepositions. I nixed those in my own headcanon as well. No, I'm talking this is on screen. But am I going to go in my I could have. I'm totally free. I'm not going to gatekeep the people that want to keep their 3 seasons of TOS and that's it. Or they want to keep their 18 seasons, 18 years, 21 seasons of Berman era with the original series and their movies and go down in the cellar and that's it. You do you. You do you. I'm just saying, if you want to be part of an ongoing franchise that's unlucky enough to have been successful to last nearly 60 years and counting, if you want to be one of those unlucky fandoms, then this is what's going to happen. Kids, eventually, and I keep dreading this, I hope I live to see it, but eventually we're going to have faster than light travel. And it will have nothing to do with matter and antimatter propulsion, and no one will still have any idea what dilithium is. It'll still be a fictional element. And then talk about the retconning. Boy, it'll be nearly 100 years by then, maybe. And what will we do then? Okay, that's for another day. I'm just saying right now, if you want to be part of an evolving, living franchise that, yes, of course, is going to have its hiccup and stumbles. And I'm not even talking about the quality of the storytelling or the characterizations. I'm just talking about the world building. That's always going to be problematical. There are always going to be the clunkers written by the very best writers we have. Looking at you, Aquiel. Threshold. No, I mean, I know. Threshold's only weird except for until you get to Threshold is fine until you get to the last 30 seconds. No, it's going to be a bumpy road, but if the core and the heart is still Gene on down, enough to where people care enough that there's enough capitalistic viewing going on that somebody's going to say, okay, there's still money in this old girl, and keep doing stories that are hope rise above selling toothpaste and tires, as Gene used to say. As long as we've got a franchise that keeps attracting this much, we're going to have hiccups and stumbling blocks and differences of creative opinion. But then you know what? Somebody comes along later on and invents the augment virus. Somebody comes along and realizes that there were Romulan agents on Vulcan steering them that way. Things do get sorted out over time. And we don't worry so much about that DS9 was the show that didn't go anywhere, because DS9 went plenty of amazing places. Ironically now in hindsight. So I'm just saying, if going back and looking at the tape, not just the specific details, but the whole act of doing that drives you crazy and you feel like it's attacking the thing you love, then maybe it's time to get off the boat, because the new ship has sailed. And this isn't an ultimatum. Maybe you would be happier staying here with your fellow Talaxians on this colony and not going all the way back to the Alpha Quadrant with us. It's your choice. I'm not gatekeeping. You can do it. But I'm just saying that's what the big picture of this is. So yeah, a lot of fandom, a lot of the hobby and the attraction is canon smoothing and gap filling, and it's been that way for me since the 70s. But and the bigger the challenge, oh my God, they did talk for 2 minutes and knew it was the Gorn. Sometimes the challenge, even insurmountable, makes you see what you've always seen in whole new ways. Maybe you will have a mesmerizing Gorn moment as we proceed, not just through Strange New Worlds, but in any Star Trek to come for the next 20 or 30 years. And let's hope we have Star Trek for the next 20 or 30 years. And again, if you say things went downhill in 2017, I'm going to stick with what I know. It's still America, and you can do that, or whatever nation you're coming to us from. I'm just saying that I realize something about fandom, and this is not a judgment. This is, whether you're here or not, the franchise is going to keep evolving. And we can judge and critique the choices made. And normally we think about that in terms of characters and stories. But there are creative turns. The subtext of Star Trek is so important to so many people that there can be major turns there. And sometimes, you know what? We do go back and yank out the hollow viewers and maybe texture up those touch screens, whether or not they do cause cancer or not, which is one of my early hoped for theories. Just kidding, but yeah. So sometimes it's not even a matter of texture, not trivia. Sometimes it's not even a matter of that's wrong, let's make it fit right. Sometimes it's a matter of, do you want to stay the course? Or do you want factoids? Or do you want to run away from them? Do you even want to have this conversation? I need a new hashtag for this, maybe. I don't know. I mean, you can take your stuff and go away. There's no Star Trek patrol coming by to poke you so often, to keep your finger clicking, to keep your remote button finger clicking on those other boxes in your Paramount Plus queue or the other boxes on your shelf. Nobody's going to do that. It's totally fine. But let's look, let's look at that's what the big picture going on here is. I mean, something has kept Star Trek going all these years. Is it only about the devoted old fans, or is it all about the new eyes that come to it? And the new eyes who then become devoted old fans. It's an ever-going cycle. That's one of the things I love to do is we can only do so much. But Lord help me, if I ever get to the point where I don't have my blinders as far off as if I ever stay in the rut so long that you have to come in and poke me and I don't move, please just stun me and get it over with. But you know what? We're all free to do what we want to do. But let's call it what it is. Again, stay or go. But Star Trek is going to keep evolving. Will there be better choices than other choices? In time? Sure. In time, something may be done about it. But it's going to keep marching on. Do you want Star Trek to dry up and blow away? We've got 800 episodes. I don't know how anything in Hollywood worth that much money will ever totally go away, because there's lots of things I wish would. Or you know what? Maybe if given a fair shake, maybe My Mother the Car could have been the biggest thing entertainment ever saw. I don't know. But yeah, we get to a point where it's not just about the details. It's about, what do you want? What do you want? And if you say, well, I want better Star Trek, you don't get better Star Trek by going down in the basement and waiting. But you do you. I'm just pointing it out. All right. Thanks for letting me get the hashtag stack out. Yeah, I just thought it was. I almost called this another look at texture, not trivia, right? Or I don't know, the future, not factoids. I don't know. I don't know what we call that now. But thanks for bopping along here. And you survived all that, gang. I hope you were introducing yourself and talking to any of the new folks we had here on Tuesday. I wanted to get into this week. I started off thinking I had nothing new to talk about. And then I realized that wasn't just the same old, same old. It was maybe looking at something from a little bit different angle and realizing the inevitability of things, but not in a hopeless way. How lucky we are that we're here to talk about this. What kind of producer would die to have people talking about his creation or her creation 50, 60 years from now this way? Anybody launching a new, forget franchise, anybody just trying to put their little story idea out there in some form would love to have people debating over it 50, 60 years from now, because that would mean it is fresh and it is alive. And as long as there's somebody still out there having a good old bar fight, a fan bar fight, I mean, which is the power of this and, maybe the power of this to settle things. We're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. So, yeah, jump off. Did I stir anything up? I hope I did. I hope I got everybody engaged here. Look, I am going to jump into the chat in just a second, okay? If you're new to Tuesdays Live, that's what we do. If you are a new TTLer today, if this is your first time, I hope by now somebody in the chat has prodded you to say hi. You can lurk to your heart's content, but if you want to jump in and tell us hi and where you are, because if you haven't figured out by now, we've got folks from all over the globe with us this time of day. Yeah. That's what's happening. I'm going to take a break here in just a second. Then I'm going to look at the parent analytics, such as they are for the last week of Strange New Worlds, even though they're still a week behind. We'll do that. And then I will get back and I'm going to wade into the chat with everybody and we'll see what's been going on. Okay. I just first, though, want to remind everybody, treklandtreks.com, if you want to customize your own away mission, if you want to put your headcanon into gear, when you get to the real places where Star Trek was shot around Los Angeles, there's over 50 locations. Yeah, the famous ones and the not so famous. You can get with me. We'll get your date. If you're out on vacation, we'll figure out a day. Look, everybody else, you can take a tour for anything in Los Angeles. I thought Star Trek fans were entitled to have a fun tour, right? And I'm not talking about sets. The sets here are long gone. You can go to the lovely Star Trek set tour right in Ticonderoga. They've had a huge summer this summer. That's awesome. But the real life places where things were shot outdoors, off the studio sets of any era, we've still got the original series beloved iconic places that are around here. And yeah, that's Vasquez. And you can go by yourself. But you won't go knowing all the other episodes shot there and the dates, or having somebody to lead you to drive you there and tour guide all your needs and do that all day long for 6 hours. Anyway, check it out, would you? Treklandtreks.com. Meanwhile, oh my gosh, I got to thank these folks. It's been quite a year here for Trekland live casting and everything else in our Trekland media. So thank you for our Patreon folks, our TTL Club, Diana Hopkins, Robin Wilson, Lawrence Todd, Anne-Marie Siegel, Justin Porteous, Galinda Bruton, Chris Jiggins, Pranakasha Productions, Comedy Forecast, and Andrew Jasimski. And once again, I do that every week because there's so many. I want to thank our live wires. Yep, that's Robert McLean, Byron Bailey, J.R. Pull, Hubbard Gunn Johnson, Alan Hoensi, Dave Gregory, Tobias Rex, Donna S. Runyon, and Casey Shafsky. Thanks, everybody, for gradually, bit by bit, spreading this out. And hey, we're monetized on YouTube now. If you want to do a super chat donation, please jump in. I'd be thrilled to do that. I will answer your question. I don't say first because I'm going to back scroll, but I will make sure and give your question super, super duper attention. All right. I'm saying Patreon. If you're not up with that, patreon.com. You're probably familiar with Patreon. Mine is Trekland Live. $5-10. I keep it simple. So thank you to everybody who does Patreon with us. And it's been about 6 months since I finally got the automated system going. You folks who are now will get another round of early Portal 47 backstage creatives interviews. Before that was a fad, which apparently it is now. I guess now that we have current shows and their CBS and Paramount are restraining the callers just a little bit. So, Portales, I've got this month's guest lined up. It's going to be Todd Marks, who I should have met in the 90s and didn't. Meanwhile, yeah, it's a Tuesday, so that means the Trek Files. We are actually nearing the end of our 10th season of Trek Files. The great Aaron Walke, who's co-executive producer on Prodigy, is my guest, recorded live at Vegas, Trek Vegas. You want to catch this one. We're looking at, an interview with Dorothy Fontana during the animated series and comparing and contrasting 1973 to 1923, exactly 50 years later. It's pretty awesome. It's there on the Trek Files on Facebook and wherever fine podcasts are caught. The interview and the documents, of course, are at our Facebook page. As always, we're the only podcast with homework. No, that's it, gang. You can find me, of course, Larry Nemechek, still on Twixt. I hate that. It's still the Bluebird to me. Yeah. Mastodon. I do have a Blue Sky account now and a post, and I'll see if we ever get ramped up to using them. But it's Larry Nemechek's Trekland. Like and subscribe here on YouTube, would you please? And also Instagram and sure, Facebook. Why not? Portal47.net, though. Since 2017, it's been the backstage con all year long. No post-con blues there, kiddos. No. For all the Star Trek fans who have no idea how much Star Trek they still have no idea about. That's going to do it for, if you're with me live, hang on. If you're watching this later on YouTube, hey, try to join us live sometime. We're here. We're going to go on for a good bit here now with the live. But if you are watching on YouTube, please leave a comment and don't forget to, ring the bell and like and subscribe and do all the things that Cadet Alice would tell you to do. There's a new Cadet Alice up, by the way. I hope you enjoy that one too. We're not quite through the 20 episode first season with her, but we'll have some more coming soon. Meanwhile, everybody, I'll be back in a second. But if you are leaving us right now, please, please, please. There was a mini outbreak of COVID from Vegas. It's still out there. People aren't dying, hopefully, because they did the right things. But, this pandemic should have taught us a basic bit about common sense health practice again. And things you can do. Even if it's just annoying. Who wants to go get just the flu? Nobody. So, please do all the things. And I wish it was just a disease. Stay woke, everybody. Check the sources, what you're reading and being deluged with, okay? Oh, yeah. Trek well, everybody. Okay. Let me look real quick. This has kind of atrophied a little bit in the last few weeks. Both from the standpoint of the Nielsen's are trying to get in the arena and have rating. I'm talking about ratings of digital programs. This is where the same thing that's at the root cause of why there's a strike right now. The old models blew up, and it was the same thing for just judging popularity and having a hand in this whole transparency issue. But the old models blew up. It wasn't enough to measure commercials for ad rates and popularity that way. And the viewing logs, the Nielsen's making a good run at it. And hey, they're making headlines. Their ratings are getting used to, in our world, shout out how well the last two Treks have done. The top 10 Nielsen digital streaming ratings. What does that mean exactly? But also, you'd say this thing about Parrot. Parrot measures the internet and also downloads. And I was reading a better explanation of what the Parrots are based on. It's not just looking at what's static on the internet as things pop up as postings. But TV Geek, this site, has bought the Parrots' recent listings. So they've quit. They've totally quit listing generic. The way we've been following them for 5 years. nearly 6 years, coming up on the anniversary of not just Discovery's premiere, but the first few weeks when we started doing this. They're selling all this. They're not doing that anymore on their own site, but they're selling the rights. If you go to TV Geek, you can look up individual show ratings using the parrots. So this was interesting. This week posted for Strange New Worlds ends on the day before the finale dropped, which is interesting. But there you go. Over that week, it had peaked at number 12. Its average was number 19. Still up in the outstanding category, correct? No, exceptional. The upper 2/10 of all shows, 2/10 of 1% of all shows. So that's the trend. The trend was up 17%. Now, and it was good numbers all around. I looked at Lower Decks just out of curiosity. I said this last week. I've seen. Hopefully, we'll be deluged soon, but I'm not seeing any Lower Decks promotion. Is it being slow walked due to the strikes? I don't know. Hopefully, at least a week out, we'll start seeing some heavier dutier Lower Decks promotion. Yeah, I know the fans got that great teaser, but I'm talking about active, ongoing, day-to-day, popping up in front of your face, whatever you're using to watch, whatever your stream is. And, will Lower Decks get a Strange New Worlds bump from those old scientists? I hope so. I'll be curious to see what anybody thinks about that when we actually start getting some numbers in for Lower Decks. But that's it. Apparently the finale numbers aren't cataloged yet, so we'll see what we got next week. Once again, today, the International Solidarity Day, with in our face the striking writers and actors. And folks, I know some of the LA Away team folks, Yez and her crew there went down, but you'll be seeing it on your socials too. So good on them. I thought about it, and then I thought, no, I need to stay close here and be sane. But I've been down there, and I will get back down. I keep hoping we will have a unified. We had Star Trek Day with the writers and a lot of actors coming over in support, and others, IATSE people. I keep hoping that we'll have round 2 with a big unified showing now that SAG is officially on strike as well. And we'll have a big Star Trek round 2 day out in front of Paramount with the writers and the actors, and that will be a hullabaloo. And again, keeping the spirits up. This is an endurance it's a marathon, and there was a little something, hiccup there happened a couple weeks ago. Turned out to be nothing. Some even said it was a stunt by the producers. There's another change.org petition going around to have AMPTP remove the word, because independent producers have been signing those, which people misunderstood at first. If you're willing to do all the terms of what the unions want right now, why would anybody strike you? You want that. People, there's a petition, there's a change.org petition to formally force the American Motion Picture and Television Producers to change that, I guess, to the AMPTS. They want it to be studios, not producers, because it's the studios that have brought on the strike and not negotiated. It's not independent producers who are happy to go that way. So, yay for that. Today, International Solidarity Day, International Support Day for those on strike. And you can, if there's others on strike that you want to get in with, and there are somewhere in the country, the UPS folks settled and got their demands. That's the power of the union, kids. Let's look at the chat and see how everybody is today. See who we've got new in the room. I hope my long, winding thread made sense at the end. What you're really going to start off tough here, are you, Sean? Starting off with this, now I back scrolled, everybody. Remember, what was the name of the gull Jellicoe faced off with in Chain of Command? I'm sure somebody way by now has done that. Let's see who all's here. I'm looking for new faces, but it's good to see everybody. Very good. Ah, Diana, you're part of that slow motion Facebook migration over to YouTube. I think eventually maybe we'll all be on YouTube for this. I think Facebook's really missing the boat on its live stuff. Let's see. Oh, it's just good to see everybody. Christoph, you are in London, not home in Innsbruck in Austria. Still recovering from Destination Trek and their announcement for 2024. You can take that more than one way, I hope to hear. And Balance of Terror is probably a close third. Absolutely. Coins. Hi, Coins. Are you new to Tuesdays? I just saw that. Yes. There's a Twitter campaign. I did not see this for a 60th anniversary Lower Decks episode called "The Trouble with Triples." All righty. Oh no, everybody. I hope we're not having sync problems. Hey, Don. You love the Gorn original series, Enterprise, and Lower Decks more than the ones in Strange New, to be honest. That's true. We keep forgetting the Lower Decks, but they're in there. That is very true. And the Gorn and STO. You know, the STO folks are having to reach. There's nothing about hatchlings and young ones, which why would there ever be? You always think about mature crew adults. I would think those would be blendable. We'll see. Hey, Analysis. You are glad for the break, and you're glad for the 18th month break for Strange New. My friend suggests I take a break from Star Trek, and I told him I only watch it once a week with the new episode. There you go. Or once a week with 55 years of episodes. I don't know. Oh, a Metron in season 3? I don't know, Anne-Marie. I'm up for it. I am up for it. Well, Analysis, you can keep hoping. You wish people would care about world history as much as they care about Star Trek lore and canon. Rule for Star Trek fandom about every Star Trek fan thinks they have. What? About every Star Trek fan thinks they're a Star Trek expert. Well, they, if they watch and they can't, they can't. There's a ton of it. I mean, my God, I don't know every year that adds on. It's harder and harder. It's not so much about watching every show. It's how many times do you let 5 and 10 and people binge watch, but it's almost like I'd rather do it. No, that would be mind numbing. I'd almost rather do it episode by episode than like season by season or series by series. But I'm rewatching by subject matter, if that makes sense. I miss the days though when I scoured the seasons and just went through click by pause to do the concordances. I miss those days. I would love to have my needs met so that I could just sit down and do that. Not even be paid for it. Just be able to do that again. Do it my way and do it right. And have everything contextualized so that you always knew whether something was from a draft, from a novel, from a visual cue only. Yeah, that's what I would do. I'm glad you Destination folks have survived, though. Okay. Well, since this is what Akiva Goldsman has been saying, Analysis, if you take him literally, and if you don't think about the fact that we're not in prophet's time, we're in linear time, so a lot can happen between now and then, especially with a strike now. We had to wait through the pandemic, and now we're in the strike to slow things down, but we'll see that. Did I miss something here? Let's see. What did you say? I mean, the oldest thing in the book is that TOS is all just the dramatized adventures of Kirk's missions that Admiral Kirk talks about in the forward to the novelization, which is that would be a wild 180 on the way we've always looked at the novelization bits. Like the what is the mind control revolts of 2037? Yeah. I'm looking for what this reference is. So I can't. I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm really sorry about the audio being out of sync, guys. We'll fix it for the. We'll fix it. Of course, the days I have the biggest soapbox to be on is the days when apparently the audio is out of sync. Let's see. Analysis. An updated version of TS needs to be done because, face it, if we want to kick our Turnabout Intruder out of canon for 1 and 2 show, why would you kick Turnabout Intruder out of canon? Analysis. Are you talking about the Janet Lester women and captains line? We got it handled. She was insane. She was talking about his life, your world of Starship Captains. She's talking about Kirk's world, not the world. It's done. And she was psychotic. She was on a break. Thank you, Christoph. This is me. Let's not backtrack anything. I have a list of 47 different corners of the Star Trek timeline and universe that I want to get to. Can we do that, please? Do we have to backtrack? I'd really like to see this movement given a head, given a name. Trek is more than Kirk and Spock and Picard and Data. And I'm not talking about a legacy series because that would be exploring Seven, etc., for the first time in this way. Well, with some views or some viewers, becoming out of date with some viewers in some views in some episodes. Yeah. Hey, Sherry, I think you're new with us on Tuesday, so welcome. Sorry if you left and I just now got to you, but thank you for dropping by. Yeah, I mean, I wish they wouldn't use the word hate, but they're going to, as long as they're civil to everybody else. I mean, civility is what you expect in any debate or discussion, no matter what it is. Hey, Sherry. Sherry, welcome to Trekland. Sherry. That's a hashtag stack. One of the hashtags I came up, one of the sayings I came up with, and hashtags are the current way of trademarking something. So there you go. Well, analysis, you might be half joking, but I've learned. You see, I have no tinfoil on this head, but sadly, stranger things have happened. Firing a cannon in a vacuum. I didn't say I was firing it. I just said I was laying it down. Yes, but what was going on at the time, Don? Weren't they, I don't know, a little inebriated, intoxicated chemically? I think so. We tend to dig deep into the culture well when we're not at our most efficient and, front of face. Too true, JR. Actually, what is this? The suns never set? I hear you. More accurately, the Terran Empire. But there are those who would say Federation could be very colonialist at times, unless they were, snapped out of it. Oh, well, thank you, Christoph, for the triggers. Yeah. The cues. That would be better. Yeah. You always thought some of the flathead Klingons are in fact humans that are just very militant. You mean like defectors? Like a reverse ambassador Dar? Dak? Rar? Rack? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you for agreeing with me, Sherry, but I have no idea knowing what this was about. But it's okay. You'll learn. You'll learn. Thanks for dropping by today. Archer and his crew were the first to encounter the Gorn, well, in the mirror universe, and the Klingons, and the Organians, Andorians, and whatever happened to the Denobulans. Did they leave the Federation? Oh, no. Oh, no. Denobulans are in lower decks. And I think we saw some. Oh, boy. Was there Denobulan in Strange New? I think so. See, again, I haven't watched every episode 5 times yet. Concerning the Gorn. In the Typhon Pact books, we got Gorn with very interesting names. I'm sure people are interested in the Gorn. Oh, yeah. And of course, that was books. I know. I just had a conversation with David Mack where we were gnashing our teeth about something that might have to be retconned a little bit, but that's the nature, at least with books. You knew the job was dangerous when you took it. Right? I hope everybody knew that. Now, you may say, gosh, I wish they had done what they had gone on screen, the path they took in the books. But you buy the books with no guarantees. The books are all about instant gratification, or maybe 10-year arc gratification. If it's, the fallow years. What will we do with Star Trek if we meet some real aliens someday? And there, you know what? Now that Discovery, I will say this, Discovery is probably showing us more the kind of aliens we will encounter, not bumpy heads. You can laugh whether it's CGI bipedals or a rubber suit bipedal. It may not be bipedal at all. Okay. Not Aquiel, the clunker that keeps on clunking. Yeah, I just remember back in the day, in real time, talking to Brandon and Ron and the TNG boys, and how they had such high hopes for Aquiel, and how they wanted to finally do Geordi some due, the way they had kind of screwed around the character earlier, and had him be the awkward girl dater and all of that, and they wanted to do right by him, and they just mucked it up even worse. And that horrible brown, I know they'd love to have that back. The dogs were nice. The animals were nice as dog actors, Did you know that they had such fond hopes for Aquiel that when Brandon and Ron were writing All Good Things, the little throwaway that's now so interesting with Picard season 3, the little throwaway where it's future Geordi and future Picard, and they're in the vineyard, they're in his Labar vineyards, and Geordi mentions that Leah is just fine, and then he mentions Sydney, right? Originally, his wife's name was going to be Aquiel. And Jerry and Michael looked at them and said, do you really, even in a fake future, do you really want to saddle Geordi with Aquiel for the wife? The memory of the episode. Yeah. But the species lives on. This is interesting. The Star Trek mythos is at its greatest during the fallow times? You mean because it's still waters and people can marinate in everything that's happened so far, and there's not the shock of the new cranking out every week or every so many weeks? You could totally say that. Sometimes it's better on your sanity. If you're a backgrounder and you want to catch up and you want to figure things out, I'm certainly glad in 2013 I got to choreograph the Dominion War and make it make sense without having new Trek happening all the time. Yes, Aquiel was the one with the shape-shifting killer dog. Yes. Okay, see, I knew you'd beat me to it, gang. Yes. Because I remember talking about how it was the first time, aside from the lower decks denobulans. Exactly. Why, thank you, Sherry. Hey, we are here every week. Been here since 2017, right? Yes. Portal 47 and Trekland Treks Live, Trekland Tuesdays Live were independent, but we've both been here since 2017. The Trek Files came along a year later. I got news for you, Melanie. Various aliens are going through different appearances. There you go, Nathaniel. The Greenlanders, who were Scandinavians, recorded the existence of the Inuit long before the Americas were discovered. Exactly. It's all the arrogance of the, what is it? The arrogance of the observer. Mm-hmm. Yes. It was the red shirt arguing in the transporter. Mm-hmm. Oh, Rose, you're so sweet. Top Cat's 60th anniversary this year. It's called Doctor Who, only 11 weeks this Friday. Wait, how'd you get Top Cat and Doctor Who together? Top Cat? Yes, Top Chat. Hey, Zahir, is Hail the Klingons, Uhura, a TOS meme like Beam Me Up Scotty? Nobody actually said it verbatim, but people still recall it. I don't know. Is this a thing now? There's one way to find out. Sit down and check through everything. And don't forget, what, Star Trek 6 and Star Trek 5. Sherry. Oh, Sherry, now you're giving away your timing there. Well, we have YouTube, Sherry. We have YouTube, right? Now, what I am too young to remember is Me and the Chimp. Those are the big two joke shows. If you want to make fun of television, you always used to talk about My Mother the Car and Me and the Chimp. Mm-hmm. This is very true. You can write it yourself, even if it remains just fan fiction. You can certainly do it. Mm-hmm. Oh, hi, North Carolina. There's lots of great Trek fans in North Carolina. Do you know Bonnie Moss, for starters? And plenty more. This isn't exactly why I enjoy mixing with our non-American fan friends, but it can be a reason. Duralta, and you're saying this just to be funny, not to be insanely crazy. Yes, that's funny. Mm-hmm. And yeah, Columbus never came to North America. Yes, the Caribbean or the Caribbean. Let's see. Yeah, Christoph, the open script policy was a Michael Piller creation, and it ended with the beginning of Enterprise. So it was open through third season Next Gen, through DS9, and through Voyager. It just, the original idea why it's not done is what finally doomed it. People would think they see a snitch of their idea that they'd sent in and want to come and sue the studio for stealing their idea when they have no reality that that same idea was probably pitched by 50 different people, or that thread, or they pick something lamely up out of, and it's amazing how often things can overlap. Mm-hmm. But that's true. And publishers win and lose licenses faster than con organizers. Yeah. Thank you for the explanation analysis. But like I said, we have YouTube now. You can find it. If it's a bad enough show, it was probably been free for years because no one realized people realized they would never make any money on it. You're not going to get You're not you're not going to go out and buy the 4K season edition of My Mother the Car. Hey, Sophia, listening in, doing stuff. Is there everybody? Are there others in Portugal that are listening to us today? That'd be great. But good to hear. Good for you to chime in. Trek is beautiful and ever-evolving art. We can have strange new conversations about TOS, those old scenes, keeping Trek alive with the sound of cannon fodder. Well put, JR. That was poetical. Yes. The bottom line to all that is the ship has sailed. I don't think I didn't put it this way. The ship has sailed, and you can either stay aboard or you can get off at port. No, I did say this. I did say that. Yeah. So, it's whatever you want to do. You might rue to your dying day a creative choice made somewhere along the way. And I could probably think of a couple. I used to, as much as I was thrilled that 4 days to Kronos from Earth was the only thing I was upset about with the Enterprise pilot, 4 days to Kronos from Earth at warp 5 even just killed me back in the day. But then I thought, you know what? This could be so much worse considering what had just been happening. Hey, Paul. Hello again. Lurking in the background, watching in lower decks, proving to my wife you can multitask. Well, I am so glad to be part of your marriage preservational exercise. Thank you for being with us on a Tuesday here. And this is the thing. So welcome to your capitalist copyright system. Yes. Let's see. I don't know where that came from, Duralta, but sure, we'll take blue skies anytime. Blue skies smiling at me. Twix is the Tuvix of social media names, Twitter and X. Can we please re-separate them in the transporter so I can strangle one of them? Yeah. Hey, Alan. Good to see you here. Going scorns have always been a mysterious species right along with several others. Archer and the crew experienced them timeline-wise, but that's Federation history. Who else encountered them before that history or the development of the species as has been done over the decades, book or video-wise? Well, Memory Beta would be good for that if you're really sing one for Golden Eyes. Blue skies smiling at me. Old Yellow Eyes is back anyway. Not me, but yes. See, this is what I meant to say, Michael. In a way, it's redeeming the Gorn because of that slow motion rubber suit. Right. It wasn't so bad it's good. It's so bad it's bad. Taking a one-off, one-time nemesis and making it contemporary and terrifying. Yeah. And leaving the door open, I hope, for explaining why that was why. Yes, we may never make fun of the Gorn again in another time or two. We had a 20-degree cool-off here after Hillary with 1L passed through. I'm sure. What's horrible here is we're like at 60, 80% humidity. It's insane. Thank God it's been cooler, or it would be like August in Oklahoma. But we do have a little bit of a breeze, so it wouldn't totally be the dog days. But yes, everybody hydrate. We're going to be summer for a while. All right. Thank you, Christoph, for the Parrots Nielsen's digital needle. And thank you, Melanie, for marking the parrots in your own way. And Duralta, you too. Thank you for those hashtags, Dave. Absolutely. SAG strong. Well, again, Why was this relative telling you about my mother the car? I mean, I would stay away from that relative. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, YouTube, they're on YouTube. If you can access the American YouTube, geo whatevering. Mm-hmm. I've read people talking about the hotel, but there you go. You know what? This is the same weekend as Comic-Con San Diego. And it's, yes, the UK one. The UK destination in Blackpool is the same weekend. Oh, that's what you're saying. I'll just move along. And then Trek Vegas is the next weekend. There is no break between San Diego. Yes. Oh, well, we got back in sync. Okay. Well, that's good to know. Mm-hmm. Well, of course. There you go. Dirk's piling at the Picard folks. Yes, Dave. This year has certainly put more light on unions, independent groups, artists, and creatives who are given short shrift under those making boatloads of money and revenue. History repeating itself, but more visibility. She was on a break. I wonder what I said. Okay. Yes, Sherry. I'm seeing your. Hey, Larry. Hey, Sherry. Yes, it was a simple. It's not like those old days when it was varying and I was actually snipping up the audio track 100 times. No, thank you to Scott and Kyle for fixing it when it does get off, especially when it's one snip over and the whole thing stays in place. Hi, Dan. The things you have seen Mini Bev and Mini Picard do at the Destination Trek bar. Was it a mini bar? Oh, Rose, do you really want me to talk about 47 here? It's all a thing from before it was a Star Trek thing. It was from Pomona College here east of LA. The 47 thing of the legend of the 47 at Pomona College. Yes, you'll learn. Oops. Do Gorns have original names? There have been some canon places that gave them the one in Enterprise had a name like Trask or something. I can't remember it off the top of my head. Oh yes, duh, and yes, Barnus Frex on Prodigy, duh, a little person, Denobulan, by the way. Mm-hmm. Oh really? I see. I don't even know what top chat. Oh, top chat is the top chat comments. You'll see more comments if you go from. Yes, absolutely. Well, Sherry, you're not missing much. It's what Ted Bessel did after the end of That Girl. You know, Anne Marie's boyfriend, Marlo Thomas's boyfriend. Poor guy. He took his That Girl capital and wasted it on me and the chimp. Oh, okay. Oh, thank you, Manda. Well, there's more coming. We're going to get through the first season. We only have 2 shows to record, but I haven't posted all the ones in between. So you guys are all too sweet. So yeah, you're here on the channel. You're going to subscribe to YouTube. I'm starting to point like Cadet Alice. Cadet Alice learned her Okie drawl in about 2 days. It was scary. Let's see here. What are you saying, Christoph? Oh, yes. Okay. Oh, okay. Well, Sophia, don't hold friends are busy too. Just drop him and find a new one. Is this friend the other Star Trek fan in Portugal, or are you trying to train him? You trying to indoctrinate him? Um, does anyone realize how crappy all the Star Trek pilots are compared to Emissary? Well, Farpoint certainly. I wouldn't say the Cage and even uh, Where No Man. I wouldn't say the Cage and Where No Man are bad pilots. They're 1 hour episodes. They're not 2 hours. If you only mean the 2 hours, Farpoint, yeah, and Caretaker's not horrible, and Broken Bow's not horrible. Oh, there you go, Dave. You're showing your there we go. Whoop, your life support live history. Oh, double shot. Did we do double shots on Saturday morning during live support live? Oh my goodness. My goodness. I think you're our first from the Philippines. Welcome, welcome. That's awesome. And now I'm going to butcher your name. Oh boy. Nilquil? Nilquil? So apologies in the future. Yes. Well, you know what? Your problems with English are nothing compared to mine with Spanish, or especially Philippines or Tagalog or whatever. Don't let me fumble around. But so great that you're with us. Yay. Do you have any other Star Trek fan friends near you there in the Philippines? Let's see. That's just awesome. Are you on one of the small islands, or is that a province that's on what, Mindanao, or I can't think of the big island of the Philippines. The Gorn from Marina could have been taken far out of time by the Metrons. Well, if the Metron's point was to put those two ships together at one time, I mean, that would have been a little. If the whole point was never to hurt anybody, but only to make a point to the humans, that's an interpretation that we never thought about. The Metrons could totally have been messing with Kirk. They could have totally, if a power that has the ability to slow down ships and do all that, could have been had no intention of harming either crew, but just trying to scare them shitless. Could have been. Not unlike Kirk unleashing the actual weapons of war on a Miniar and Vindicar, if you think about it. I mean, the Organians went one way as third-party interlopers, and yeah. Where are we here? Boom. Yeah, you know what I mean. It's August. It's dog days back home. Yeah. No breeze. Hot, humid, and no breeze. Proust. Yes. Slar. Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Slar is the Gorn in a Mirror Darkly. Mirror Universe Gorn. Not to change the subject, said Michael, but was anyone else taken aback by how powerfully Subspace Rhapsody moved them? I don't even like musicals, and I can't stop thinking about it. The depth of emotion. I was so just braced to have it not blow up the franchise. I mean, I'm totally open to having a musical. It was amazing. I only watched it maybe twice, so if I start watching it more and more, I'll probably get stuck. I'm just stuck on it's well past my time to change my paradigm. It now is the time to change my paradigm. And what's Spock's very opening line? He's the first one to sing anything. Da 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 dun dun da 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 dun dun da dun. Yep, absolutely. Ted Bissell. You remember Sherry? See? I don't know. Have we not talked about this phenomenon? I know there are a lot of people that they either don't like musicals at all and they try not to dislike the episode. I know people that love musicals and they were upset that the musical direction didn't go as far as a real musical, that was still too grounded. 4 frames. The soundtrack was huge, #1 in the States for days on iTunes and in the UK, and I didn't see other countries. Uh-huh. This is what I'm saying. I think a lot of people who are not into musicals, but they're Trek fans and love the show, had their eyes opened. You're just gonna chant Ted Bessel at me as in penance here. Well, Michael, there you go. They only bust out into song when they're trying to go to a deeper level, and mere words fail them unless they're sung in lyrics. 50-year fan blown away by the totally new and unexpected experience. There you go. Felt like Picard hugging his Russican flute. There you go. It's okay. Okay, analysis. A little more heavy metal or Queen. Well, that was not going to happen this time. I mean, there are rock operas like Tommy or something. Go back to the original. But there you go. Put Queen into Star Trek. Yeah, what's the right situation? How much are they? Queen is Doctor Who's responsibility. Well, there you go, Zahir. That much closer to the dream of Hamatrek. Yeah. I want to hear the words to the Federation Charter or Constitution being rapped by whoever there. Rose. Yeah, Rose, you were there on Life Support Live Tuesday. Yes. Everybody drink. I think we're at the end of the chat. Looks like we're at the end of the chat. So, gang of mine, thank you for joining us again. Maybe I stirred something up. You guys are so sympathetic. You know the way I think and talk, and I don't know. Is it possible for me to ever piss somebody off in our community here, in our audience? I don't know. Maybe when we have some raids like used to have happen. Yeah. Remember when Noah's bunch would come raiding across? Yeah, those were good times. No, I don't know. It just occurred to me that there's something deeper here than always going on the hunt to smooth things over. It's the people that resent the idea that they might always be smoothing things over. But that's just the nature of the beast. That's part of what makes Star Trek unique among the franchises. That's why I never cared much for the other. I mean, past a casual, I casually enjoy Star Wars just fine. I casually enjoy Doctor Who just fine. I wind up eye rolling during any Marvel or DC dive. At some point, it gets comic booky, usually when the fight goes on for 20 minutes. And I go, oh yeah, this is why I never read comics. But not Star Trek. That's why I was initially attracted to Firefly too. Firefly always felt like it was the thing closest to Star Trek. And its saga was kind of the same but condensed. Anyway, it's been good to see everybody today again for another Tuesday. I just want to remind you, if you're sitting here feeling listless, but if you got the Jonesin mood to get out and come to LA on business, much less vacation, there's still a world, there's still a year to go, and please look me up for a Trekland Trek. Would you keep it in mind, even if it's something you plan on next year? We'll see what the new year brings, some special stuff happening. Hey, if you come out this way, you should come out to Will Rogers. You can not only see where the bird of prey really landed in Star Trek 4, but you can, on a Sunday, you could take a tour with me, as a few have done. Yeah, hey, listen, it's time. I want to thank our Patreon folks again, our TTLers, and our live wires, with just a reminder that as we get down to the end of the month, it's about to the end of the month time for taking the Patreon accounts around. They do it automatically. I have a simple $5 and $10 level there. You can read all about it at patreon.com/Trekland Live. Yes, it's a day for the Trek Files. Next week is going to be our 10th season finale. This week, our penultimate episode for season 10, the great Aaron Walke joined me live. We recorded live at STLV. It was a saga getting the show done, I want to tell you. But someday I'll talk about that too. But maybe I'll talk about it on the next roundtable for Portal 47. But Trek Files on Facebook is where you can get the docs with that. And anywhere fine podcasts are caught is where you can find the Trek Files. Otherwise, once again, I'm Larry Nemechek on Twitter. I'm going to say X. X should be the XX of, Twitter and all the things. We'll see how Blue Sky goes in post. I hear Thread is already tanking. The boom happened. We'll see. It's gonna every time there's a hiccup with Ding Dong on X, Twitter, people flock to another Twitter wannabe. And then there's a hot time, and then what's the numbers on people that actually stick with anything? I don't know. But here on Facebook, please like and subscribe and check out everything that we're doing here on YouTube, if you're new especially, and Facebook, Instagram too. Been kind of letting up a little bit. That was a pretty intense time there. SoonerCon and Con San Diego, Comic-Con, and then Vegas, and the intensity of Strange New Worlds. So we're gonna hit a little stretch here coming up when Lower Decks hits us in a couple of weeks, but it won't be quite the same. We'll see. Everybody, thanks so much for joining us here on a Tuesday again. Maybe that's some Hillary aftermath. We'll see. Thanks so much for joining us again. I will see you around. The next con I'm going to be at is Starbase Indy over the Thanksgiving weekend. Not going to be at Salt Lake FanX this year, but they've got Michael and Gates and Denise among the actor stars that are there. I miss all the folks up that way. Got some other things heading on this fall. Hopefully we'll have some news of some new projects coming up before then. But I'll be back here next Tuesday working on some things for some special guests one way or the other. So hopefully next week will be a guest week here on TTL. And of course, check out everything at Larry Nemechek. Of course, stay healthy, do all the things. And of course, stay woke and check the sources. And Trek well, everybody.